Right, good morning and happy Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving break, got some shopping done, and just had some nice time to relax. Just to give you guys an idea, we have to finish up a review today. Your test is Wednesday for Unit 7. I should be back on Thursday. And then we will do Unit 8, which is a statistics unit. And then remember, you guys will be taking your final exam before we go on winter break. Okay? All right, so let's get started. Hopefully by now you guys downloaded 7D notes. This is actually just a review for us today since we're in the linear inequality unit. I figured it'd be a good idea to go over compound inequality since that was a topic that we did okay on, but I definitely think it's important to look at it again before we take the final in a couple weeks. Okay. So remember that a compound inequality is connected by the word and or the word or. Okay. So remember that ands have to cross. If they don't, there's no solutions. For or compound inequalities, it doesn't matter if they cross or they don't cross. Okay. Remember that for and, the answer has to satisfy both. For or, it just needs to satisfy one. Okay. So if we look at the first example, it says use a graph to write the solution as a compound inequality and then an interval notation. So first of all, this is an example of an and compound inequality. Okay. We have -8 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 0. Remember that you always write and compound inequalities least to greatest. We always write it as the number line from left to right. Remember that your arrows are always, or the mouths of the alligator should always be opening to the right. Okay. In interval notation, open at -8 and closed at 0. All right, next example. This is an example of an or compound inequality. So we would say that x is less than or equal to -8 or x is greater than -6. Okay. In interval notation, that would be -infinity to -8 closed, union symbol, -6, sorry, that should be an open, -6 to positive infinity. Remember that the union symbol means or. All right, let's go through some basic examples. Remember that we have our practice graphs on the left, and if you don't have a practice graph on your homework, then make one. And then we put the answers over here for our final graph interval notation. Okay. All right, so this is an or compound inequality, so it doesn't matter if they cross or not. Okay. So x is greater than 5, which is going to be to the right, and x is less than or equal to 2, which is going to be to the left. Okay. The ors are not crossing, so this is not a special case. It's just a straight up or compound inequality. So in interval notation, we would write that as -infinity to 2, close bracket, union symbol, 5 to positive infinity. Okay. And then remember, then we put our final graph off to the right with our interval notation. Okay, so nothing special about that one. All right, next example. So this is an and compound inequality. Remember that and has to cross. So let's draw this. X is less than -3, so that's going to be to the left. And if you need to, flip this around so that this is x is less than or equal to 2, so that the variable's on the left-hand side. And I'm sorry, I just realized that I did not put that on the correct side of 0. So here we go, let's try that again. So -3 to the left, and then 2, closed circle, also to the left. Okay. Remember that for and, they must cross or they must intersect. So if we look at this inequalities graph, where do they first start crossing? Where do they overlap? Or however you want to think of it to understand that it has to be where they intersect. Okay? And hopefully you can see that they first start intersecting at -3 and then on to the left. Okay, this is the area where they intersect. So that's your only inequality that you put down. That's your only solution. So we have -infinity to -3. It's the only inequality that I put down on my final graph. Okay, so this is an example of a special case. Okay, because the and is going in the same direction. They're both going to the left. We look to see where they first cross, and then that's the only answer that we write for our inequality. All right, let's take a look at example 3. Okay. All right, so if we focus just on this first inequality, we would say x is, or -1 is less than or equal to x, which is basically saying that x is greater than or equal to -1. So that is to the right. Okay. Then if we look at this inequality, x is less than 3, to the left. So where do they overlap? Only between -1 and 3. So once again, this is not a special type of an and compound inequality. So interval notation is from -1 to 3, -1 and 3. There's your answer. Okay. All right, next example. First, let's graph then. So x is greater than or equal to 0, and then x is less than 2. So this is an or compound inequality. Okay? Doesn't matter if they intersect. No. However, if the ors cross in opposite directions, does anybody remember what happens when ors cross in opposite directions? Will, you want to give it a shot? Just kidding. It's from -infinity to infinity. Okay, so, or in other words, all real numbers. So here's our interval notation, and remember that you graph the entire number line for -infinity to infinity. Okay. All right, last example. So x is greater than 3, and x is less than -2. Okay. What has to happen for and compound inequality? And must cross or intersect or overlap, however you want to think of it. So in this example, do they overlap? Hopefully the answer is no. So therefore, there cannot be any solutions, and we do not put anything on the graph. All right, so that is just an overview of some cases. Let's go ahead and put some problems together. Okay. All right, so notice that this is an and compound inequality, which means they have to cross. Okay. So let's go ahead and solve. For each inequality separately. So we should get, for the first one, x is greater than or equal to -3. And then for the second inequality, we should get x is less than or equal to 3. All right. So let's go ahead and graph these. So closed circle for the blue, less than or equal to, and closed circle for the purple as well. And then remember, for and compound inequalities, they must cross. And where do they cross? In between -3 and 3. Okay, so that is their solution set. So over here, we're only going to graph from -3 to 3, close circles for both. Okay. Remember that for an and compound inequality, if it's not a special case, you just write it as one statement, left to right. Okay. And then interval notation, we have -3 to 3. All right, let's go ahead and try example 2. So first we subtract 5, and we get -3/4 x is less than -3. In order to get x by itself, we have to multiply by the reciprocal, which is -4/3. Hopefully the light bulb is clicking at you right now that when you multiply divide by a negative number, you need to flip the inequality symbol. So x is greater than 4. So x is greater than 4. All right, for the second inequality, subtract 2x from both sides. 2x plus 6 is greater than -10. Sorry guys, I just realized that your notes are different than mine. This should be... I don't really want to start the whole video over again, so we're just going to fix this right now. Okay, this should be less than. Okay, sorry. All right, so let me go back to, we had 2x plus 6 is less than -10. Subtract the 6, 2x is less than -16. X is less than -8. Okay, so hopefully that looks better now. So -8 and to the left. Okay. So what's the problem with this? Well, the problem is this is an and compound inequality, and it doesn't cross, so our answer is no solutions, and we leave it the way it is. All right, moving along. Let's look at the next example. Remember that you guys can either separate the two inequalities or you can solve it all at one time, whichever works for you. Okay, just remember if you solve it all at one time, that whatever you do to the middle parts, you do to both the outsides. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5 to both sides. So we get 10 is less than -10b, which is less than or equal to 50. Divide by -10 to all 3. And let's say I accidentally didn't flip the inequality symbols on this problem. Then I would get -1 is less than b, which is less than or equal to -5. Okay, read that for a second. You're saying -1 is less than b, which also has to be less than or equal to -5. Can -1 be less than -5? The answer is no. So I know I made a mistake somewhere, and that mistake is I didn't flip the inequality symbols. Okay. Now remember, when you write your answers, though, you always need to write it left to right. So -5 is less than or equal to b, which is less than -1. Interval notation is -5 to -1. Okay, and this is just a basic and compound inequality. Close circle at -5, open circle at -1, the space in between. Okay, just make sure that you are writing it left to right. Remember that the alligator mouth should always be opening to the right when you are writing it as one and compound statement. Okay. All right, we're going to skip over 4. That's just a basic or compound inequality. And we're going to go down to number 5. All right, so add 3 and we get 5x is less than 10. Divide by 5, x is less than 2. Okay. Then we get 4x is greater than or equal to negative 4. And we have x is greater than or equal to negative 1. Okay. So if we graph these, we have 2 going to the left, and we have negative 1 going to the right. Okay. What happens when oars cross each other going in the opposite directions? And good, the answer should be all real numbers. So we graph the entire number line. The compound inequality, you can write all real numbers, but interval notation is going to be negative infinity to infinity. Okay. If you write that there as well, that is fine. Okay. All right, so the remainder of the period, you guys are going to do group work D. When you're done with that, if you guys didn't do your group work C corrections last Tuesday, then do that today. Otherwise, you guys have the rest of the time to work on your homework after the group work, and then make sure you guys are also working on your project and preparing for your test, which is Wednesday. Okay, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.